Habitat, habitat, have to have a habitat. Habitat, habitat, have to have a habitat. Habitat, habitat, have to have a habitat. Have to have a habitat to carry on. My name is Rhana. Can you all say Rhana? I'm one of the teachers from the North Carolina Aquarium on Roanoke Island. If my body is the shape of North Carolina, out here's the mountains, you guys are up here, here's Hatteras. I come from the aquarium right here by my bicep, the Roanoke Island Aquarium. We have lots of sharks. I know you've heard about sharks. We have lots of sharks in our aquarium. We have a dinosaur exhibit outside, so if you haven't been the last couple of years, you might want to come see the animatronic dinosaurs, kind of spooky. We also have a really neat exhibit called the Sea Turtle Assistance and Rehabilitation Center. It's a place where we can take care of sea turtles who might be wounded or sick or not feeling so hot. You can pretend you're a sea turtle veterinarian as well. So I hope you'll come see me at the aquarium. But Miss Cindy had me come to see you all here at Ahoskie. And today's program is something we call We Are Nature's Heroes. We're going to talk a little bit about the Endangered Species Act and how it helps a lot of animals and plants in our part of North Carolina. We're going to talk about an assortment of animals. We're going to talk about osprey, alligators, and sea turtles. And then finally, we're going to talk about what are things you guys can do. Even if you're only this tall, there's lots you can do to help endangered species in North Carolina. So we're talking about nature heroes. We are nature's heroes. We are nature's heroes in a lot of different things. But the one thing I want us to think about is this thing called the Endangered Species Act. Oh my goodness, I know you guys aren't in school right now. But the Endangered Species Act is an important part of our government's programs to help protect endangered species. Species, what is a species? Any ideas? Mr. Orange Shirt that's not afraid of sharks. Yes, a kind of animal. So we are all one species. We are called Homo sapiens. How many of you have cats at home? Anybody have a cat? So a house cat is a species. If I brought in a tiger, is that a cat? Yes, it's a different species. If I brought in a lion, is that a cat? Yeah, that's a different species. So you have different kinds of animals and plants that are protected by our Endangered Species Act. A lot of what the Endangered Species Act does is says if you've got a place, water or land, a habitat that you want to do something with, maybe you want to build a school or playground or whatever, you got to look and see are there any animals or plants that are having trouble, threatened or endangered before you get a chance to do what you want to do. You have to look at that habitat. And in your habitat, you should find 4 things. What are the 4 things that you will find? What's one of those 4 things you got to find in your habitat if you're going to be happy and healthy? What's one of them? Your home. So if you got a roof over your head, we kind of tend to like to have houses or apartments or whatever, right? Well, animals might want a hidey hole in the ground. It might want a knot hole in the tree. It might find just a pile of leaves. It might be underwater living. So they have to have some kind of shelter for babies, for sleeping, that kind of thing. What's another thing we need to find in our habitat? Yes, food. Eating a bowl of oatmeal, depending on what kind of animal you are. You might be eating plants. You might be eating other animals. Depends on what you want, but whatever you want to find, you better find that food and that shelter. There's 2 more things we need to find in our habitat. Yes, water. Drink a glass of water. Now, some animals get their water from their food. Some get it from ponds, creeks, streams. You better hope it's clean. Do you know what the 4th one is you got to find? I'm sorry? Clothes. Well, you know, there's a lot of animals running around naked. So you might not need clothes. We already talked about food. Now, there's a bathroom just around the corner I saw. We could all cram and do that bathroom, that kid's bathroom. There's roof over our heads. There's water by the sink. Miss Cindy could go out and get us a bunch of pizza. So we have food, water, shelter. What's that 4th thing we're missing? Yes? Space. Elbow room. So can you do those 4 with me? We need shelter. We need food. We need water. And we need space. Now, again, depending on the kind of animal, you may not need more space than this little, square. Most animals need a little bit bigger space. Right? Habitat, habitat, have to have a habitat, 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 have to have a habitat, 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 have to have a habitat, have to have a habitat to carry on. Estuary is a habitat, a very special habitat. It's where oceans and rivers mix, in fact. It's where babies take a nap, from oyster, shrimp and fish to more. They don't need plastic bags from stores. Estuary is a habitat that we depend on. Estuary, that's a weird name. Estuary is where rivers and ocean come together. So when I'm North Carolina and you guys are up here and I'm down here, all that water from Chewan and the Roanoke and the Neuse comes in and mixes in the Albemarle and Pamlico Sounds. The ocean comes in from the various inlets off the Outer Banks, and it mixes in here and makes this crazy soup that we call an estuary. That's where a lot of animals start off living. A lot of animals we like to eat that from the ocean, oysters and shrimp and clams and fish and such. A lot of them start their life here in this estuary. That's where we often find this animal. Who is this? Does anybody recognize who this is? Raise your hand if you have an idea. What is this? You're close. It's sometimes referred to as a sea hawk, otherwise known as a falcon. Think about that. Not an eagle. Yes? Not a buzzard. Yes? Not a seagull. Yes. Nope. Yes. Nope. This is an osprey. Can you all say osprey? Osprey. Now you guys, when I was you guys' age, I didn't see many osprey. But you should see ospreys fairly frequently around here, anywhere you've got some nice, clean, fresh water. Rivers, creeks, ponds, estuaries, and even out to the ocean. And this is sometimes referred to as sea hawk. It's got that curved bill for tearing into flesh. It's got talons for hanging on to slippery fish. This animal once was on the endangered species list, but because we are nature heroes, osprey are now off the endangered species list. Everybody stand up for a second. I want us to pretend we're a bunch of osprey. So everybody stand up. You got to bend in your wings, right? Very good eyesight. So you're flying around. You see a fish. Now, are you going to dive head first or feet first? Feet first. So jump on that fish. All right, come out of the water. Shimmy. Get all the water off. Then sit back down again and eat your fish. Okay. When you have a chance to come up, you might take a look at this skull. This is an osprey skull. Again, the hooked bill, big eyes, very good sense of sight, lousy sense of smell, good hearing. You might also have a chance to see these talons. They can rotate their ring finger down so that they can hang on to that fish and line it up just right so that they can fly without having that fish kind of messing up their aerodynamics. So this is how this fish hawk's feet are built. You'll have a chance to feel how sharp it is. You'll have a chance to feel how rough it is here on the pads. Again, for hanging on to slippery fish, hangs on to that fish. You'll have a chance to look at this a little bit later. Like I mentioned, when I was your age, I didn't see osprey. I didn't see bald eagles. I didn't see brown pelicans. We all had the same problem, and we all were endangered. We used DDT to help keep the mosquitoes down wherever our soldiers were fighting in World War II. It was awesome. How many of you like mosquitoes? No, not a bit. And neither did they. And so they spray this DDT. The mosquitoes were gone. Awesome. They came back to the States. We've been spraying DDT in the 40s and the 50s, and by the 60s, we realized there was a problem. And this DDT is not a problem for me, but it will be a problem for my babies. I'll build a big nest with my husband, my osprey husband. We'll bring branches and fill it all up nice and safe. I'll lay some eggs, maybe one, maybe two, maybe three. Maybe it's a good year. I'll have 4 eggs. They're speckly like this one. And as I go to sit on those eggs, crack. I sit on the other one, crack. So on the third one, crack. The fourth one, crack. All my eggs, they're the ones who absorbed all this DDT. And because they absorbed DDT, and my system did not make nice strong shells like I used to. So my babies did not grow. So that's why the osprey, the bald eagle, hawks, owls, because they ate little animals, they absorbed lots and lots and lots of pesticide. Now, because of the Endangered Species Act, we said you can't use DDT anymore. This stuff is bad for lots of animals. So now our osprey are back, our brown pelicans are back, our bald eagles are back, our hawks are back, our owls are back, because we are nature heroes. And we decided what needed to be done. All right? So you'll have a chance to come up and look at the stuff up here. One other last thing I want to show you and have a chance to feel later. This is a wing to an osprey. This is a dad's wing, it happens to be. Now, is this a left arm or a right arm wing? It's a left, by left, right? Left. If this was a mama wing, my wing would be out to here. Now, wait a minute. Are dad osprey bigger or mom osprey bigger? Mom's bigger than dad. So this right here is a mom osprey. If I had a stuffed dad osprey, he'd be a little bit shorter, not by much. You might also have a chance to look at a teenage osprey. This one was not very old when it fell out of the nest and died. So we stuffed it, so it's called a study skin when it's laid out like this. It's a study skin that we can kind of look at and compare how fluffy the feathers are in a baby versus how fluffy they are on a mom or dad. Now, one last thing about osprey, I just think it's really kind of cool. So that mama lays an egg, and she'll sit, and the daddy will sit on those eggs for about a month or so. Those babies will hatch. They won't know how to do anything, so mom has to keep bringing them food, dad brings them food. After about 2 months, those babies are able to fly, and they are full grown. At 4 months, those babies can fly all the way to South America. Now, when you were 4 months old, were you ready to drive yourself to California? No, we need a whole lot more care. Ospreys do it in just 4 months. Habitat, habitat, have to have a habitat. Habitat, habitat, have to have a habitat. Have to have a habitat to carry on. One of the animals that uses our waterways in eastern North Carolina is this guy. Who is this? Alligator. Now, I've got a poster up here that shows alligators, crocodiles, and something called gavel. How do you tell the difference between all those guys? Alligators smile like this. Can you smile like an alligator? They need orthodontia. Orthodontia. A crocodile, when you see this little crocodile, it's just a plastic crocodile. His teeth shine like this. He shows all his teeth. So smile like a crocodile. Smile like an alligator. Smile like an alligator. Smile like a crocodile. Right? The reason that alligators were on the endangered species list is because they were having trouble with their habitat. We kept draining swamps and marshes. So the Endangered Species Act came in and said, you can't do that anymore. The alligators need your space. Alligators also were almost overhunted. A lot of times people liked the meat, but they also liked working with the skins. This is an alligator skin from their belly. From their chin all the way, here's where the arms come off. Here's where the poop comes out. Woo! Legs and a long, long tail. The inside and side leather is what is used to make purses and shoes and stuff like that. But I think it's neat, the back skin is also very tough. And when you come up, you might take a look at these things. These are called osteoderms. These are actual pieces of bone embedded in their back skin. So when you touch, I'm going to give it away. When you touch my little friend, you're going to feel the big bony pieces in his back. Let's bring him out, all right? Kind of walk around just kind of quickly and talk about this guy. He is an American alligator, and he is not from North Carolina. We have alligators in North Carolina. Our alligators won't get nearly as big as he will once he goes back to Florida where he came from. But he is an American alligator. He will get bigger. Once he gets to 6 feet long, he can be a daddy. He has to be that big, though, in order to have babies. Because he is a reptile, he can't regulate his heater and air conditioner like we can, and so he feels a little chilly to me right now because he's been kind of in a cold tub of water right now. Okay? So I'm going to put him back just for now, and we'll see him a little bit later. Let me show you that big skull I have. Eventually, our friend Bo will get this big. But again, the nose is on top, the eyes are on top. So he just kind of goes up, looks around, sees if he sees somebody wiggling, and his ears are right behind his eyes. Good sense of hearing. So if I was a big old mama alligator, let's go through their life cycle. If I was a big old mama alligator, Dad alligator and I'd have a special hug. Dad would swim off. I would look for a big old pile of mud or dirt, soil to lay my eggs on. Maybe 30, maybe 40 if it's a good year. Then I'll pile a big old pile of compost on top of my babies. Does anybody compost? I hope more hands go up next time I come. Composting is good. And that warmth of the compost breaking down will warm those babies. Now, as mama alligator, am I going to leave those babies behind, those eggs behind? I stay put. I circle around that nest and keep charge of that nest for 2 months. Then I hear the babies go, "Ooh, ooh, ooh," kind of noise. And I'll dig open that nest, and I'll get those babies out. Then do I leave them alone? No. I stay with them for 2 years. I'm not going to feed them. I don't feed them like the Osprey feeds her babies. But I'm going to make sure anybody else eats my babies. They'll be about this size, and they're very tasty food for lots of animals out in the swamp and marshes. So when you come up here and look at the pictures and stuff, you might look at this picture of this mama alligator. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 babies right beside her. You hardly can see because they're protected by the mama. So that's how those alligators protect themselves. Now, some people wonder about, well, golly, how big do the alligators get around here? If I start here, Bo is about this long, about 2 feet. 3, 4, 5, 6 is when he can have babies. 7, 8, 9, if he was a girl, he'd be this big. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, if it was a daddy, he'd be about as long as these 2 tables. If you went to Florida, they'd be about this long. Pretty big. He had a good question. Don't they run fast? They do, and that's one of the interesting things. Their shoulders, if you look at most reptiles, their bones kind of come off of here, and they have to kind of do the push-ups every time they want to walk. But alligators can rotate their arms in, and so they kind of do this like a plank. Yes, and they can run fast. So I would try not to outrun an alligator. Yes, one quick question. I'm sorry?
How many teeth do an alligator have?
I'm sorry, one more time?
How many teeth do an alligator have?
How many teeth? I don't know. You have to count them, I guess, when you get up there. They're all kind of peg teeth. They don't lose them quite like a shark does and grow them back like that. Habitat, habitat, have to have a habitat. Habitat, habitat, have to have a habitat. Habitat, habitat, have to have a habitat. Have to have a habitat to carry on. Who's going to be in our ocean habitat? Yeah. This is a sea turtle. Sea turtles are well built for the ocean habitat. We've got 5 sea turtles that hang out around North Carolina, all in that ocean around Hatteras. These guys are truly in trouble, and that's why we have to be real strong nature heroes for them. All of our sea turtles are endangered. Couple of problems, couple of strikes against them. One, they want clean beaches. We like clean beaches, and sometimes we like to drive our cars on clean beaches, and that can be a problem for a mama sea turtle. 2, they lay 100 eggs, and out of those 100 eggs, maybe 1 baby comes back to lay eggs again. 1 out of 100. 3, this is a real problem for a lot of sea turtles. They love to eat jellyfish. It's like chocolate cake with icing and whipped cream and a cherry on top. It's the best thing ever. But when you look at the skull up here from this loggerhead, you might notice it ain't got much room for a brain. Turtles have been on Earth for millions of years. They predate the dinosaurs. They're very good at being sea turtles, are just not real bright. So when a plastic bag floats in the water like this, you and I see a plastic bag. What does a sea turtle see? Jellyfish. And he comes up on that jellyfish and says, "Oh, chocolate cake!" And he takes a big bite and he thinks, I'm not so sure about this. It doesn't taste like chocolate cake to me. And he takes another bite and says, no, it really doesn't taste so hot. Maybe another bite will do. And it takes a bite and bite and bite. And because he has no teeth, a sea turtle smiles like this. Can you smile like a sea turtle? No teeth. Instead of having teeth, they have these little finger projections in their throat that bring everything he bites into his belly. He can't cough it up. He can't throw it up. He's left with a plastic bag in his belly. So trash can be a real problem. Now you might be thinking, Miss Rhana, I'm not going to throw a piece of plastic in the water. I know better than that. Thing is, you might put this in your garbage can. That garbage truck goes, and it leaves the garbage, and as that truck is bouncing down the road, it hits a bump, and and you're left with plastic that drifts into the Chuan, goes into the Albemarle, goes into the Atlantic Ocean, and it bobs around waiting for a jellyfish or a turtle to see that. Real problem. The fourth thing turtles have trouble with. Again, the Endangered Species Act came into play. We like things called shrimp and fish, and our fishermen were kind of just taking these big nets and scooping up whatever it came upon. It's called bycatch. We now require a little TED on it, a little trap door, so that sea turtle can slide on out again and not get caught up in that net of fish. Because again, sea turtles, do they breathe air like we do? They do. And so that sea turtles were having trouble with being drowned. Thank you to the Endangered Species Act. Now, we talked about the life history of the osprey. We talked about the life cycle of the alligator. Sea turtles. Mom and Dad have a special hug. Dad will never come back to the beach. He never comes back into the sea where he was born. But Mama, she'll come on to the beach she was born at. And she'll drag herself onto the beach. Oh, man. Because these turtles are built for swimming, not for walking. She'll dig a big hole with her feet, and she'll lay about 100 golf ball-size eggs in that nest, and she'll bury it with her feet, and then she'll drag herself back to the ocean. Is she going to hang around like the alligator? No. Is she going to feed him like the osprey? No. She'll never see her babies ever again. But when those babies hatch, after about 2 months, they know exactly what to do for the rest of their lives. And that baby will go out into the ocean, will come out of that nest, go to the ocean, and won't come back. If it's a boy, never come back. If it's a girl, won't come back for 30 years before she'll come back and have her babies. That's why we have the Endangered Species Act, to help protect the turtles so they can come back and nest. Okay? Let's take a few quick questions about sea turtles. Yes?
When they come out of the nest, what type of birds eat them?
All kinds of birds eat them. Gulls especially are a problem for baby sea turtles. Raccoons are a problem. Opossums are a problem. Even those little bitty crabs called ghost crabs, they'll grab them and drag them into their little hole and take them apart. So almost any bird. I would imagine even an osprey would take a sea turtle. Now where they come in, it's easier is because osprey aren't out during the nighttime, and the sea turtles usually hatch at nighttime. So that kind of helps them. But again, if they're kind of bobbing on the surface trying to figure out what's going on, that osprey could come pick them up. Because they got to breathe air. Quick question, yes? Why do turtles walk so slowly? Well, I don't have a lot of time to tell you about how that, because they have the world on their back, but you can look that up. That's a good story to learn on Google. We can be heroes whenever we pick up our trash or use a little less energy. Heroes. We can even use less water and reduce our energy needs. We can be heroes easily. There's things that we can do, not just rely on the Endangered Species Act and all the things that allow habitats to be preserved in national parks and wildlife refuges and state parks and state wildlands. There's things you guys can do too. So let's think about that for a second. Turn off the water. Use less water. How many of you brush your teeth? I should see every hand go up. All right? How many of you turn off the water when you brush your teeth? Good. But you know, that's small potatoes compared to something else that's in your bathroom that uses a lot of water. Showers? No. Toilet. The toilet is one of the biggest uses of water. And you think about it, this is drinking water we're putting in there with our number 1 and number 2. You guys, you can find an insert for your toilet that you flip the handle up. It takes care of 1. Flip the handle down, it takes care of the 2. And you can save a lot of water that way. You can be a nature hero by planting more trees. That was the part I missed. You can plant oak trees. Any part of North Carolina, there's an oak tree that lives in your part. And it provides shade. It provides habitat for a lot of animals. It also gives us oxygen. Everybody take a deep breath in. Let it out. Thank you, trees. You might turn off energy. Now, how many of you got these things wandering around your house? I bet every hand goes up. Am I asking you to get rid of your iPods and Game Boys and all that kind of stuff? No. But what you can do when you're done plugging this in, if you undo your gizmo and you leave this plugged into the outlet, this thing is thinking. It's thinking, oh, she's going to come back. I better stay ready. And so it kind of pulls a little bit of energy, keeps pulling energy even when you're not using it. So just unplug it, and you can save energy, and you can help reduce problems for a lot of our endangered species. We talked about the jellyfish issue, right? In the county I live in Dare County, grocery stores can't use these anymore. You have to bring your own bags or get paper bags. You can use paper bags or these reusable bags. Let's see, we talked about energy, we talked about water, we talked about sea turtles. There's lots of things that you can do. Energy. Turn off the car when you don't need it. So if you agree with me that we can be nature heroes, will you raise your right hand and repeat after me? We pledge to do our part to help endangered species. And if you agree with that, you can sign it. Are we going to be nature heroes? Yes. Very good. Thank you, Miss Cindy. Yay. Yes. Boys and girls, I want you to line up.
He feels soft.
He kind of feels soft, doesn't he? Okay. There you go.
Don't it
Okay.
kind of tickles if he bites you when he's that little? If he bites you, don't it like kind of tickle you?
His teeth are small, and then the problem isn't him holding down, although he has a real strong bite, is if you try to pull your finger out, you have to kind of wait for him to let go. There you go. Okay.
One or two fingers.
There you go. That's it. Nice and gently.
That's cool.
Okay. Just 1 or 2 fingers. Want to touch it gently? Just use it. There you go. 2 fingers. There you go.
Is that a real alligator?
I'm sorry? It is. He's just small.
He could bite?
Anything with a mouth can bite. Well, when you get to the big adult alligator, you can see that teeth. On the table.
Is he aggressive? He
He can be. It's just like anything small, it tries to act like he's big. You know, he kind of puts a big front.
Does it scramble like if you're trying to pick him up? And
Yeah.
stuff? Has he ever bit you?
No.
And
But
does he have the...
he has teeth, and it wouldn't hurt so much, but it would feel if you pulled your finger out, it would hurt. Yeah.
You let him go.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he has to let go. Okay.
This is fascinating. I'm glad you brought him. That's
Okay.
fascinating to me.
Just touch him gently, just very gently. Just gently. Gently. Okay. Okay, scooch on, guys. Scooch on. You already had a chance.
He's got very patient, hasn't he?
Yeah. And we still have to do.
Take